Labor Day is a significant anniversary for me. That's 1 year of the rebuild.
Oh.
Labor Day was when I walked in the house and found just a house.
I was going to say I found absolutely none of your belongings.
Yo, but that's all good. You know what's even better? The show has begun. Welcome to My Safe Word is More. My name is Al Jackson, host of Daily Blast Live, touring stand-up comic for 16 years now, and also the co-host of the one lovely Mrs. Corinne Kaplan. Corinne, how you doing?
I'm very good. I am not a touring stand-up comic, but
you have two appearances on Survivor. Yeah. She gets so mad when I say appearances. 2 full seasons on Survivor and The Amazing Race, and you're an amazing person.
Yes, but I was going to say I did do a tour of bars this weekend.
Ooh.
In the hopes of, well, we're going to talk this episode about our Memorial Day weekend, which we know just passed for you guys listening. But you haven't heard our stories yet.
Yes, and I haven't heard your stories yet.
And I haven't heard yours.
Because do you know what I do for you guys, our swimmers? For as much as I want to reach out to Corinne, I wait. And I'm patient. It's the same reason you don't open gifts on the 21st.
Yeah.
You know, you wait. You know they're there. Uh-huh. You know they're in the closet. Dad drinks a lot. He left it ajar. You saw that the gifts are in there, but you wait to the 25th because you know it's going to be dope. And today is our 25th because now I get to ask you formally, Corinne, how the hell was your Memorial Day?
Well, okay, so
weekend. Your I want to know in totality.
Yeah, I'm gonna run you through the highlights of my Memorial Day weekend, but I wanted to cover like expectations. So going into Memorial Day weekend, I feel a lot of pressure. I mean, I come from I was born and raised in Miami. Like Memorial Day weekend is a big deal. Right?
Shout
it's the
out
kickoff.
305.
Yeah. I mean, actually, Memorial Day weekend, sometimes they have that terrible EDM festival thing in Miami. I forget what the hell it's called. But anyways,
I was about to say the Winter Music Festival, but that would be
Winter Music Festival is maybe Labor Day weekend.
It can't be then.
It's the worst one. It's the worst one by far.
If you're not on drugs. Like, we're approaching this from a very boomer perspective. It's so noisy.
No.
People are like, I'm seeing 3 of you right now. It's for people on drugs.
Okay. So I always feel like Memorial Day weekend, what I was thinking going into this weekend is originally I was scheduled to go to my parents' lake house in upstate New York. I decided to bail on that and decided to stay in town. And I thought this weekend, I'm not going to go on the apps. I'm going to go out in the real world, and I'm going to meet men
a lot of times people
way.
Say this weekend, you know what, I'm going to volunteer.
Yeah, no, this weekend I'm not.
Yours is like, I'm not going to go searching for some D.
No, it's Memorial Day weekend. My expectation was perhaps to meet a veteran. Maybe bang a veteran this weekend, you know? I meet somebody in the wild. Semper Fi, is that?
Yes, and you know what I call that? I call that free range.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an organic chicken, like, oh, I'm doing it old school like my parents did, just walking up to a human and saying hello.
So I stacked my weekend with things that I could go to and do that would expose me and force me to be out and about, day drinking and evening drinking all day. So, you know.
Some people call that a bender.
Right.
But, yeah, right. The only thing you're missing is the morning, which clearly is not off the table because you haven't said I wouldn't drink in the morning, which is what most people would have said right there in that space I left you. But we're going to assume that the morning is on the table as well.
If you're going to go in, go all the way in, you know?
I love it, yeah.
So, all right. So I'm gonna give you a whole bunch of different stories of different things that I did this weekend, but I want to launch it with this one. All right, so I begin the weekend as I begin almost every weekend. I go to my gay neighbor's apartment, Jay, right?
Yes.
Gaber. And I get to Gaber's house, and we are drinking at his island. This is 3 p.m. We're kicking it off. And we pour drinks, and I look over, and who do I see next to me? But Maine, the dogs, remains still in the gift bag.
Maine's remains.
Remains. Yes. And so I was like, are you, because I thought he was going to be mad when he heard the podcast where I was drinking and eating with Maine on my kitchen table. And he was like, no, I feel like he likes it that way. So we were toasting to Maine.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I love that your neighbor is having a healthy approach to death and understanding you don't have to be bummed out. It's like, you have your time where it's super sad and you're like, man, I miss Maine. I miss my homeboy, whatever it is. But then when I die, if you and Chris outlive me, which you probably did, you probably will. I did a lot of damage in South Florida and LA and New York. Oh God. But in Rhode Island. Okay. And so I'll just say don't, one day be bummed, but put a drink in the air for your boy.
Okay, I have a quick question for you. Do you have your your death plans? Because I have some very specific requests.
I did, and then I went to a couple funerals, and I was like, this wouldn't play. Because I told my mom, we had a very serious conversation.
I'm going to die if you say the same thing.
Okay.
I'm going to die right here, and you're going to have to call my brother for my story of what I want done.
I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think your brother can keep his phone on silent. I had a serious conversation, and I wanted them to play Wu-Tang Triumph when they put me in the ground.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Here's mine. I saw this one. I don't know why she did it or how she did it, but once I saw it, I went wide with this. I sent it to every one of my best friends, my parents, my brother. Okay, there's this old black lady who taxidermied herself in a position of she's smoking a Newport Light and she's got a
with
can
sunglasses?
of beer. Yes, and the poker chip. Oh my God, you know it. So I saw this and I was like, I want a raise the roof position. I will party with everyone one last time. I want a martini in one hand. I am obsessed. I don't know how this woman thought to do that, but that is my wish.
It's a thing in the South, especially like kind of where your brother is, like Louisiana. It's a very big thing. And for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, we're talking about the person. Again, you know this podcast, we're not hyperbolic. So when I say the person, I'm talking about a fully taxidermied or embalmed person, but they're not in a casket with their hands over their crotch like they're about to block a kick in soccer. No, they are like as they were in their life. So probably sitting at the table, Hennessy.
She had big black sunglasses on.
She looks like the only black woman at a ski lodge, except she's dead at her kitchen table, and people party around
She's just Weekend at Bernie's.
Yes,
and that is what I want.
Minus the flexibility. I have a feeling that it's
you're gonna be rigor mortis.
Yeah, you gotta pick a position.
Yes,
and that's gonna be it.
Raise the roof position
for life.
Yeah. But, and then you'll just crunch me into the casket.
Wait, so set the scene for me again. And being serious, how this is you forever.
Yeah.
So where do you want to be sitting? How do you want to be positioned? And what are the items in front of you?
Tits out, short skirt, raise the roof.
Tits out?
I am in a standing position. Arms up, raise the roof. One arm has a martini in it. And I got a real cute outfit on. And we're going to have one last big ass party with me. And everyone's going to act like I'm still alive.
Yeah, but people are going to get drunk and somebody's going to knock you over.
I don't know that my body's not going to smell, but that's not my problem. That's that's for the living.
I think you need to be seated.
I think you have me getting knocked over.
Yeah, I can't because that's party over.
Because I do that in real life.
Yeah, if you like for as cool as your friends will be, and I'll be like, hey, this is how she wanted it. We're gonna do my girl
gonna go
right.
For a hug.
Somebody's gonna get drunk.
Yeah.
And like go to reach for something. They're gonna bump into somebody else. They're gonna knock you over. You're gonna knock your martini over. It's gonna shatter. Everybody's gonna be like, I'm at a party with dead Corinne, and she's on the ground, and I cannot. This is too much input. I am a little turned up right now, and it's hard to start the party because the music stops. You got to be seated.
Do I run the risk that someone's going to try and have sex with my corpse?
I think that's.
I like that risk.
I think that's on the table either way.
I think this sounds like a good party.
I think it depends on what city morgue you go to and who's on shift.
And I'm very specific. I do not want to be cremated. I want to be in a drawer. Or not in a drawer, in a casket underground. My entire family has marble drawers, and my parents were like...
Stop calling them drawers. Yeah. Are there fucking socks in them? Stop calling... They're not drawers. They're like a tomb.
Yeah. A mausoleum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not a drawer.
Well, it seems drawer-like.
It's not drawer-like.
Boop, boop.
All right. It's like...
Okay.
I don't know why you can open and close them. Are people going in and out of there like a file cabinet? I think once you're in, we can seal that up. I don't know why we're doing that.
I don't know. I just know that my mom, they reserved, my mom and dad have theirs reserved next to all my grandparents. My whole family has a whole wall at this particular.
Now, do you care where you are? Do you want to be on the bottom, on the top?
I got news for you. I don't want to be in Florida the rest of my life. I don't even like going there for vacation. Like, nah, dog. No, thank you.
And also, is that a great place to put people underground? Is South Florida? It's all marshland.
Yeah. Well, they're in a tower, a marble tower. They own like half the tower.
It's like a place where they bury Greek gods. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
My family has a plot in Warrensville Heights across from the Sunoco in a definite hourly motel.
Oh.
For show. Yes, all my family's over there.
Okay, so back to Memorial Day.
Yeah, so you're at the island.
So I'm like, listen, I make a deal with Jay. He has two girls visiting that are lesbians, but they are this is the craziest. I will not go into detail because I'm not going to do it justice. They're in their 40s and they are a couple. They only came out 4 years ago. they were both in such extreme religious situations that like one of them, they're both crisis psychiatrist practitioners.
Okay.
And I'm probably butchering that, but they're very smart, but they worked at a Christian institution that upon like one of them saying like, oh, I sometimes feel I have feelings for women, they fired her. So like they are the most shell-shocked. They had never been to a gay bar before. So they were visiting, and it was like hanging out with, I liken it to this, but I don't like this show, Kimmy Schmidt, which is like the whole basis of that show. It's called something.
The Incredible Kimmy Schmidt or something? The Unbreakable?
Sure, yes.
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay, so Kimmy was underground, and this is what it felt like hanging out with them. They like really had never been exposed. So the first place I take them is a nothing, I take them to the Block Gin Distillery, which is my favorite. I love good gin. And Chris knows I've taken Chris there.
I might add one or two with you.
Jesus, we haven't welcomed our 3-time Emmy-winning producer, Chris Clark, who is on the show on premise today.
Who's just sitting back there because if we don't introduce him, he's like a guy in an adult theater.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the most boring sex show ever.
He's Anne Frank. He's like, just don't make too much noise. They'll hear you.
He's just sitting back there quietly. Yeah. I do like that now that Chris is a part of the family for life, that like when I go back and listen to the pod, I can hear him laughing. Yeah. It's a very organic thing. So we appreciate you, brother.
So anyways, I take them to the Block Gin Distillery, and the Block is not a queer bar per se. However, they're very supportive. So they had little, because it's, Pride starts June 1st. So they had flags, like, LGBTQ gay pride flags. And the girls went wild. They're like, can you take a picture of us next to this? They had never seen a bar supporting. It's so insane. And what they're doing currently is when the jobs ended about a year ago, they started traveling. So their families both disowned them. And they started traveling, and they only stay. They will work, so they'll say they stay at gay friendly, like people who want to get to know them and take them in, and they'll be like, well, I'll paint your house. We'll stay as long as it takes to paint your house. Or they trade tasks.
Okay, I was just hoping that wasn't code for something.
No,
okay.
It wasn't. And I said to them, I was like, how do you know you can do what needs to be done? Because they're like, we can do anything. You want us to raise chickens? You want us to babysit your kids? Like anything. But we don't want just to like stay on kindness. Like we want to actually work. And so I was like, what if you can't do something? And they were like, well, we YouTube it. And I was like, oh, that's right, you're lesbians. Lesbians can figure anything out, whereas I can figure nothing out.
Yeah, and
I still don't know how to hang a painting.
And for as sad as it is that they spent the majority of their life up to this point not being able to own who they are, that is completely reversed and almost worth it with the feeling of euphoria that they must have felt when they were like, for the first time in 36 years of hanging around squares that are also probably mostly closeted.
Probably.
To just go and be like, I'm with my people. It's like taking a refugee to Disney World where it's like they don't have any framework for what they're looking at. And they're like, this is the rest of our life. We got some money in our pocket. I don't even have to pretend to interact with my family. They suck anyway. Cool. Be good. Have fun at your terrible, non-flavored, food get-togethers. And you can just be around people that love you for the rest of your life. That's dope.
They're also getting to know, like, they've traveled the country just based on, like, meeting strangers within the network. And, like, it was just really cool. So I was, like, siphoning the newness out of them because I'd never, ever – I mean, I've lived in New York, Miami, and L.A. Like, it's not like it doesn't. I forget
the three horsemen of cocaine. Yes.
So, all right. So I'm all excited, and they were like, "We want to go to like a true gay bar," and I was like, "Okay." So we were at the Block Gin Distillery, and Jay barely puts up. He calls them straight bars, and he's just like not having it. And I'm like, I gotta have fun too. Mama needs to find somebody. So we go to X Bar.
I'm not on the apps. You gotta get me somewhere.
Right. Like it's been 24 hours since I have swiped on anything. So we go to X Bar, and I'm at X Bar for a little bit, but all along, I'm going to introduce a new main character, swimmers. I have a good friend named Lou Amundsen, who probably does not want to be talked about. So Lou is an ex-NBA player. He is fucking adorable. But I'm giving you the understanding of what he looks like because it'll come into play in a minute. So he's 6'8". He was in the league for like 10 years. He's an interesting player. Because if you are a basketball fan and you don't know who he is, I can probably explain why. He has been on a lot of teams. Chris, how many teams can you?
10 teams in 10 years.
10 teams in 10 years.
One of those teams, I believe, is the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when he played.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Lou is adorable, and he puts up with my bullshit, and I get to hang out with him whenever he's in town. So I had hit Lou. I was like, he was going to be here Memorial Day weekend. His girlfriend was out of town. I was like, let's go out. Let's go like bar hopping. So I decide I'm going to go to X Bar just to watch these lesbians. They've never seen other lesbians. Like they've never been in an atmosphere like that. And they were losing their mind. It was so fun to watch.
That's awesome.
And I said to them, I was like, you want to make out? You want to go to the dance floor? Because they don't know what to do any. And they were like, no, I don't think we're ready for that yet. And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
and
they're
then,
like, you can do that. It's like, you have to do that or
Yeah.
you have to leave.
Right.
That's the house rules.
Yeah. There's a ball pit. So I took them upstairs at X Bar and everybody's going wild. It's Memorial Day weekend and they have a few drinks. They start dancing. Like it was so fun. Yeah. So anyways, Lou hits me up and he's like, all right, I'm out from the Rockies game. I'll come pick you up. We'll go to Recess. Recess is like a normal bar that I like that's in Lehigh area. All right, fine. We meet up with 3 of his other friends. All those guys are ex-college basketball players. So I want you to understand that I'm standing in a circle of boys that are giant. Like he's 6'8", Scotty's like 6'6". I mean, they're all massive guys. And I'm sort of like in the middle of them. There's, girls coming and going, but like I'm just with them. And all of a sudden I see this guy coming towards me and he's so good looking. And the boys I was with at Recess were by far what I was assuming were going to be the best looking gentlemen in there. And, there's not going to be another ex-NBA player randomly walking in. I'm the one that brings them. So
You're welcome, everybody.
Yeah, either you got an invite from me or you're probably not leaving your house.
I raised the average, all you 7s.
Yeah. Yes, attention 4s, attendance speaking. So, okay. So I'm standing there and I see this he's the exact, I find this particular look really hot. I call it the Hitler Youth look. He looks like blonde hair, blue eyes, tall, real German looking.
Right.
And so he starts walking towards me and I'm just thinking, he looks kind of young-ish. I don't know, definitely not my age. But he's walking towards me and I'm like, no way is he walking at me. But he was. He comes over and now, so Lou and the other 3 guys are all standing around me when this happens, okay? Now remember, I just told you, Lewis has played in the NBA for a solid number of years. And he's also looks like an NBA player. So do the other ones. I'm standing there and the guy's like, I'm so sorry to do this, but are you Corinne Kaplan? And I was like, uh-huh. And at this point, they're all like, no way is she getting recognized right now. And he's like, I am a huge fan of Survivor Gabon. That's what he says, which is not the same as saying you on. I mean, he knew Survivor Gabon and Survivor Fans versus Favorites and what you said to Sugar. And he had all of the.
He was a stan.
He was a real fan. And he was so good looking and he has this big grin on his face and he's like, this is just so exciting. And I was like, yeah. And then I said, what do you think I said next?
Are you gay?
That's exactly right.
We know each other.
I said, are you a gay man? And he goes, no.
And then you took his hand and whisked him away?
No. Then awkward. And then he just kind of walked away.
No.
And Lewis was like, what did I just fucking watch? And he's like, that man was trying to shoot his shot and you asked him if he was gay. Like, why did you do that? And I was like, I assumed, just the looks, the fandom. There's no way. It's a straight man.
But you do know that there are men in this world that are not gay.
That like me on Survivor, that's the only one.
Okay.
And I think maybe he's not out of the closet yet.
That's how people come out of the closet. It's like, look, be honest. Mom and Dad, I liked Corinne on Survivor.
That's right. That's how you know. So I spent a few minutes doing the post-mortem where the boys were like, honestly, I wonder why you're single, but I just watched that, and I don't know how you've ever gotten a date.
That was very strange.
They were like, this is like, you're so lucky that somebody recognized you. Why would you treat them like that?
It's very weird.
And I didn't recover. When he said no and looked like, why would you ask that? Then I just stood there irritated that he wasn't. There was no more interaction. So then I spent the rest of the night doing laps upon laps trying to rediscover this guy. And actually I didn't even want to do that. Lewis was like, if I were you, I would go make your way out to the fire pit, see if you can salvage this. Why are you still talking to me? Yeah.
Clean up on aisle 6. Come on now.
So I did lap after lap. And I swear to God, this man was an apparition. He was a ghost. He appeared, told me he loved me, and then disappeared off the face of the earth.
That was how tall was he?
Tall. He was probably 6'4" at least.
And so he passed the height standards.
Yes, and he was gorgeous. And I was not drunk. I was a little buzzed.
That's what everybody that's drunk says.
But even the boys
Let me
were
guess, 2 beers? Yeah.
Well, I didn't 2 whole flights at the gin distillery. I had multiple glasses of mezcal, but I was, coherent.
You can hold it down.
Yeah, I could, and it was overtime.
Do you think, okay, let's get into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think that you asked him if he was gay because you didn't want to allow yourself to get excited?
Kind of. And I think in my mind, I was so sure he was going to say yes. And that's like when a switch flips for me. And I'm like, oh, like, okay, like, then I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna like who knows? I do that at the gay clubs even.
I was
when they
gonna
tell me
say,
they're
wait
gay,
a
so I
second.
don't
We
know
have a
why
whole
they said
episode
that.
of you
I know.
harassing
Of course.
Ak.
I know. I
This
looked for him at
gorgeous
X
black
Bar
man.
this time. Yeah, it was just an unfortunate.
Happenstance.
Yeah. I
Oh.
was really disappointed with myself. And then I spent the rest of the weekend going like, all right, he lives, he's not visiting from out of town. He's somewhere. I'll see him again.
No, you won't.
Well, then I kept checking like my Instagram DMs, like, did he slide into my DMs or
Does he
like,
follow you?
I don't know. I didn't even catch his name. I don't know anything. He was just
You just know
hot
that
guy
he's
from
not
recess.
gay.
Yeah, hot.
That's not a
hetero
lot
from recess.
for a CIA intelligence officer to find somebody. We need to track this guy down. What does he look like? He's just not gay.
The only not gay good-looking man that I've ever seen in Denver. Yeah.
Oh gosh. All right.
So I will round out a little bit more of my Memorial Day weekend with.
Please make it better than that. I'm very
It gets
disappointed.
worse. So, so I decide I'm gonna go for a hike with Lou because, like I said, he was in town all weekend and there wasn't that many people in town. Not that I wouldn't hike with him anyway, but so we're gonna go for a hike in Boulder, whatever. The hike wraps up. As the hike ends, he's like, his mom was coming over because him and his girlfriend and his mom and her elderly friend were all four gonna play pickleball, and his girlfriend went out of town last minute.
You could just say her friend.
Well, yeah, but it's important to note.
Okay, it's important for the story.
Yeah.
Elderly.
Elderly.
What do you consider elderly?
Well, they're in their 70s,
Okay.
mid-70s.
There we go. Okay.
Okay?
For sure.
And let me just say, his mother's in fantastic shape, and she's super fun. However, they're one man down. So we finished the hike, and Lou is, like, trying to, like, he's sort of setting the stage. He's like, hey, so, like, you can totally say no, but we're supposed to play pickleball, and I totally forgot. And now because Lauren's out of town, we don't have a fourth, so we're gonna have to cancel, and we have a reservation at the rec center. It's just 90 minutes. Like, would you be the fourth? And I was like, I don't think you understand how bad pickleball is to me. Like, my father calls me uncoachable. Like, I grew up with a tennis court they converted into a pickleball court. Like, I'm talking about I've played pickleball a total of 15 minutes, and it included me throwing the paddle down. Like,
okay.
I am horrible at it.
That's where I would be.
So Lou is like, he's looking at me, and he's like, Corinne, it's a big game of ping pong. Old people play it. My mother is 75. Like, you're not going to be running all over the court. I said, that's where you're wrong. You see, I'm not going to hit the ball. And if I do hit the ball, it's going to go into the other person's court, and it's going to annoy everyone. And he's like, you're being ridiculous. It's not that hard. I can teach you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to call my mom. I speakerphone my mom. I wanted to talk to my dad, but my dad was napping. My dad takes, like, naps every day. So I call, and I'm like, Mom, I just need you. You're on speakerphone. Could you just, my friend wants me to play pickleball. And before I could even finish the word ball, she was like, no, you don't want that. And I go, could you?
You don't want that smoke.
Yeah, she's like, you're not gonna have fun. She's speaking like to Lou. She's like, you're not gonna enjoy this. I know you think this is innocent enough. It's not gonna be fun for you. And so I said to him, I go, you can call your mom and you tell her the situation. If you just need a warm body, I said, maybe you cover the whole court. So his mom comes over and she's like, no, it'll be great. It's very easy to be good at. I was like, can people stop? Because it's just gonna be worse when I'm this bad at it.
Yeah.
And so we get to the court, and like, she goes, most people that play are older and they don't have to be athletes. I said, fine, but I'm playing with an actual ex-NBA player. He can just cover the whole goddamn court.
Yes.
I am just here so you don't lose the reservation. Well, that's not good enough. So we start, we do like warm-ups, which I'm not hitting anything.
How are you not hitting it?
I'm literally not making contact with the ball. And if I am, it's the tip of my paddle, and I've knocked it all the way into the other court.
Is it just your hand-eye coordination is off?
It's as though I am a blind person trying to play pickleball.
Like you're out there trying to raise awareness for something.
Yes.
People like you were really inspirational
I'm
today.
Using the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're 30 minutes into this 90-minute appointment, and I can see her friend is like,
her elderly friend?
Yeah, it's like, So there's a court next to us, and there's people playing 2 and 2, and 2 of them are packing up, and they were like, so sorry, can we stop the game for a second? And I was like, sure, I don't know. I didn't know what inning we were in, or
inning. I think that I don't understand proved your case. Yeah. Okay.
So she's like, okay, Corinne, we think you're great, and like there's a lot for you to work on, but like, if we ask these 2 people before they leave their court, if they want to play us instead, 2 total strangers, and then you and Lou could just sit out for the next hour,
Are we talking about an in-game trade-out?
I got fired in-game, yes, by two 75-year-old women who were like,
oh, no.
We would rather put a fucking trash can here.
This is too easy to play you guys.
It was that upsetting. Yeah. And I was like, thank you.
And you have an athletic build.
I know. That's the problem. People think I'm going to be good at stuff. This happened on Survivor too. I'm not good at things.
Yeah.
I can run. I have endurance.
And you know what? You're also tough. So you're mentally tough. It's like if you had like a baseball card on the back would say speed, 96, mental toughness, 99.
Yes.
Everything else, and then there wouldn't even be numbers. There would just be symbols for how bad it would just be, like a buffalo getting killed. That would be your agility.
Yeah.
And then just a kid crying in the window waiting for dad.
That
would be like,
like when you're throwing the trash out.
Yeah.
Like
oh God, you got in-game traded.
I sure did. So Lou was traded 10 times in 10 years. Corinne was traded in the first 30 minutes the first time she played.
Hey, and shout out to moms for trying to warn them. Mm-hmm. They were warned, you warned them, and they chose not to heed that warning.
So I will round out this with my last Memorial Day story because my father's birthday falls around Memorial Day, and I got him I got him a mug that I ordered it off Amazon. I thought it was so perfect that said, "Tears of my pickleball opponents."
I love that.
Adorable, right? He loves pickleball. That's his whole shtick. Okay, great. So I get the mug, and I'm like super excited because I never know what to get him, and this seemed like such a unique, perfect gift. Cool, all good. They're going to be at our upstate house. Now, we've had this upstate house in New York for 15 years, okay? It exists.
It's like the great outdoors.
I mean, it's on a lake. There's a boat. It's a nice neighborhood that's like gated. It's like a real house, okay? And I'm saying
and it's empty most of the year?
For a reason. They go up there a lot more now. But yeah, they're up there, a lot of the summer because it's more fun in the summer, less so in the winter. Regardless, okay, great. This is a house I've been going to for 15 years. I just need to underscore that. When I go into Amazon to order this mug, and I want to know if you knew this is a thing. I go to order the mug. I put our address in. It's very definitely our address, right? It's like not knowing your home address. I knew that address. Put the address in. Doesn't come up. Just doesn't come up. And I'm like, why is this giving me such a hard time? So you can override the system on Amazon and say like.
And put the address in.
No. This is where I want it delivered to. So I call my mom and I'm like, hey, Ma. I think, like, because my memory is sometimes a little shoddy, and I was like, am I fucking the address up? Like, here's the address, and I give it to her, and she goes, no, that's the house address. I said, Amazon is saying it's not an address. She goes, oh, it's not. And I said, I don't understand. It's a 5-6 bedroom house. It's a big ass house.
Right.
I go, what do you mean? And she goes, oh, we don't pay for the to postally register. You didn't notice that we never had a mailbox? And I said, what? The fuck are you talking about? She goes, yeah, we don't want to accept mail here, so we don't exist.
What must that cost? $2 a year?
I don't, and I think it's like this. I mean, it's an interesting idea of like. I was like, so just you and Ted Kaczynski have done this. Like,
I was going to say this is very doomsday preppery.
Who is like no one can know that this. So I was like, I don't understand conceptually. So you don't exist, and she's like, yeah. So like it depends on the situation, but like we can't call like if we call a pizza place for delivery, we can give them their address and get it delivered. But like if it's online or something, no, we don't exist. And I was like, this is the wackest shit I've ever heard.
That's very off the grid, and I just picture this house filled with like jars of baby food and ammo. And just like a weird, like this should
traps.
be, like this should be in northern Idaho, and you guys should be talking about freedom and liberty.
I tried anyway, and I got a message, undeliverable. Amazon accepted it, and then I got a message saying, nah.
Wow.
This is like asking for it to be delivered to the moon.
Yeah, it's like asking for whatever delivery driver to then be on the missing persons list. It's like you can't send a driver out there and just be like, I guess.
I mean, not for nothing. My parents have been stealing our neighbor's Wi-Fi this entire time as well because they're like, well, we don't live here full time. I'm like, you live here enough.
Oh, my God.
They are out of their minds.
It's so weird because it seems like on one side they live on the precipice of opulence, but then on the other side they're like, I'm not paying $2 to get.
I think that's kind of how you get there.
It's just like,
I mean, they have a mansion with a boat, but they're like, nah, we ain't gonna pay for mail.
Wow,
idiocy.
Maybe you remember like I think it was a couple of years ago. I think it was Susie Orman got in trouble because she told millennials to stop paying $8 a day for avocado toast and macchiatos and stuff.
With that.
And it seemed very dismissive. And yes, But once I started like paying attention to my finances, because I made a decent chunk of money the last, I don't know, 10 years. But like for some of those years, that money was someone else's immediately.
Yeah.
And you want to call our guy? And and so, once I started, then I stopped drinking, and obviously, it's more money in the account. But then as like prices have gotten, and I told you the moment that I realized that stuff was getting crazy expensive, and I am the last person to even notice stuff like this. I don't even look at how much stuff costs. I'm like, I got it at whatever. Is when I got that pizza during COVID, and it was a large pizza and a medium pizza, and it was $70. Last week, I'm at the barbershop in Inglewood, which is a working class neighborhood here in Denver. And my barber, I go early in the morning, get that fresh cut.
I was just thinking L.A. Inglewood, but you're right. We have Inglewood here too.
There's an Inglewood here. Ours starts with an E.
Yeah.
Yes, E for economically sound neighborhood. Like it's for the people. You know what I'm saying? Which I like. Those are the kind of neighborhoods I like. But like
especially for a barber.
It's not a bougie neighborhood in any capacity. So I go to the coffee shop that literally shares a wall with my barber shop. I got a small, a hot latte, and it was $9.18. $9 for the small. I
hope you savored that.
A small one. And I was like, you know what? I took that coffee and I was like, never again. Corinne, I think I'm withdrawing from the American economy until it gets under control, because there's one thing to be like, that's a little pricey. I just feel like now places are just making up, like it's like Price is Right. What do you think that costs? $9.17.
So I am like you in some ways, but unlike you in others. If I walked into a coffee shop and saw, I don't care if I was on like running on steams, I had to get caffeine. If I saw that it was $9, I'd take my happy ass right the fuck out.
I didn't even know.
Let me tell you what I am extremely conscious of. In airports, I will always, I will never just grab a bottle of water and be like, all right, I'm always like, I want to know how much everything is, because I understand the upsell in an airport. But I now do that in regular life too. Well, and while we're on the subject, when we got here, Chris was like, he had the best smoothie of his life. How much was that smoothie, Chris?
$18.
$18.
I'm withdrawing from the economy.
Dollars.
I'm withdrawing.
I mean, I would sincerely, if I didn't, and I would have asked the price. I think
Hailey Bieber smoothie.
There we go.
Delicious.
The Hailey it better be. For $18, Hailey Bieber should come and massage your shoulders as you drink it.
I don't like Hailey Bieber, so that doesn't do it for me.
Can anything be $20 good?
No. Well, this is if it was an alcoholic drink.
I was going to say, if it's like a Cadillac margarita, where you're like one of these and I'm good for the day, that's one thing. But when you're talking about a smoothie, which is like some berries and some greens, and it's like this is the thing. I'm the way I started like my initial getting my drinking weight off. Is I used to, lift a lot of weights, but like when you still have fat on you, you just end up looking like an ex-running back that now talks to kids about not throwing their life away with drugs. And so one of my friends, Patty, who's a producer on our show, was like, shout out Daily Blast Live, watch it every day. And she was like, you should go to Soul Cycle with me. I was like, black men don't go to Soul Cycle. But I went, and I was like, I walked in, it's 38, 29-year-old white girls. I'm like, all right.
I thought you said it's $38 because it's also that.
I was like, let me go in here and show these girls what's up. Within like 40 seconds, I was so tired. If my feet weren't metallically attached to the pedals, I would have left. But you can't get off the bike I didn't know how to get off. So I stayed for that class and I powered through it. And that's like I learned how to do the classes and finally built my stamina up to get through it. So I started being in spaces where white women are. And spaces where white women are, here's the positives. They're always really nice. They're highly effective in terms of like, you want to get in shape, find a suit, go to Whole Foods, stand in line behind a white woman that's like 38, that's got in such little body fat, you can see the striations in her back because she's still got her tube top on. And go wherever she goes, because she's going to eat good food. She's going to have the freshest greens, and she's going to have a great place to work out. But it's going to be expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say she's got a husband that's footing the bill.
And so that's when then I started, you're hungry. You start going to a place like Sweet Greens. I would never go to a place like Sweet Greens, a place that just makes salad. You can just do that at home. You could just take your hand and reach it in the bag and throw it in the bowl. But I'm like, why are these salads $14? And you know what I realized? It's all the verbiage. Anytime you see the word sourced, you need to run for your life.
Oh, we're doing this rant again?
This
He loves
lettuce,
this one.
But like all these things are super
Yeah.
expensive, but nothing has changed. It's still a coffee with a pump of sweet vanilla and a pump of cream. How are we here? How are we at $10 when it was I remember starting my career as a comic, and there were comics that had that hack joke, Starbucks, they should call it $5. And that was like a funny joke, like, oh, can you
Never
believe
heard that before.
$5 coffee? And now I think a black coffee at Starbucks is $5.
I don't ever get coffee at Starbucks. The only thing I ever buy is I treat myself to a cake pop, and those are like $2.
I love cake.
They're so good. And
It's just
their egg
dough.
white turkey bacon sandwich is like $4.95. That's where the deals are, ladies and gentlemen, not the coffee. But I do not want to monopolize the entire Memorial Day weekend. I know you have some sort of heartwarming story that you want to tell.
I do. And much like a Corinne story, it starts off horrendous.
Yay!
And ends up in
And then gets even worse?
Yeah. It ends up in Happy Town.
Tell me.
But we'll kick it off. We kind of started the podcast like this because I was saying that Labor Day in September, that was the exact day that I walked into my house and found it completely bare. You can find that video on our Patreon. And that's what I walked into in real time. And so that day means something to me because the worst person in the world did the worst thing that I could ever think that somebody could do, Corinne. And that was until a week before I left for my Memorial Day weekend in which I was going to watch my favorite nephew, Josh, get married. And that was because my mom calls me on the Wednesday before I'm supposed to leave. I was leaving she called me on Tuesday because I was leaving that Thursday. And, 2 days to go. I'm in my DBL clothes, got my suit and tie on, having my coffee, hanging out with Sar. And my mom goes, hey, send those details for the Airbnb. I booked this Airbnb. Trust me, I know this because I've been on the phone with Airbnb in July of 2022.
Yeah.
That's how important this is.
And it was for a lot of people. It's
Yes,
not like a casual.
Yes. This was a cabin. This was in rural Ohio, in Logan, Ohio. And I'll even post the screenshot because I still have the Airbnb thing in my wallet. It was for $2,700. This was my wedding gift to them.
And it holds like 14 people.
It held. It was like 6-bedroom, 12 people. I mean, it was pretty lush. Hot tubs, plural, I think. And I, go, okay, and it's so interesting that if my mom hadn't said that, it would have been even more of a disaster than it was. So I go to click to get the details on the thing in my wallet and my virtual wallet, and it said reservation not found. And I was like, that's weird. Can it be that I've had this reservation for so long
that it expired?
No. Like a Pornhub premium account? And so I go to the Airbnb actual website or app, and it said no upcoming reservations. And it's Tuesday. I'm leaving, and 12 people are expecting to stay in this place on Thursday.
So insane.
So I'm doing like that.
And you're also probably like the cool, famous relative. Like,
yeah, I can't show up like, hey,
you have to be like, sorry guys, we're gonna camp.
We're passing the hat. Who's got $50?
Yeah.
And so,
Right.
so I'm just like, it took a while, like that movie Beautiful Mind, where like the numbers and the letters and algebra are like moving around in his, like, I'm trying to figure out like what happened? What did I do? And I was like, the monster canceled the reservation. Satan canceled the reservation and obviously didn't tell me. And she did it. I booked this in July of 2022. And she did it in February of this year.
Oh my God! Wait, I didn't know she did it so.
Oh yeah, so she waited.
Recently.
She waited, dude.
I mean, listen.
She waited.
I have a differing opinion on this in that it's like an Easter egg. Like she was like, I can still cancel this. I can have this high from canceling this at any point in time. And she waited so that it was closer.
Yeah.
Oh, she's diabolical, and I will give her that.
Do you know what was really messed up about it is I remember how much she used to go on, because the reason I didn't mind throwing out this cash for Josh, my nephew who was getting married, is because I remember getting the phone call that he was born, and Josh is like one of those people that's so nice it's weird and it's not phony. The reason they were getting married out there in rural Ohio is that's where they met. They're both nature people. They like to go on hikes and spend 3 days in Moab, but like not the cute part. Like they're like out.
Are they like your white family members, or are they
No,
also black?
no. Josh is black, and his
right.
partner Kaylee is white. And so, they're nature people. They want to get married in nature. I want to get them a nice nature cabin. And to do this to Josh, to throw that kind of chaos on his wedding day, and, I'm not talking out of school, but, my sister, not my newly found sister, but my adopted sister, who is Josh's mother and Josh's father, they're not, and they'll never hear this, they're not capable. They have a very low ceiling. You know what I'm saying? Like talking real. There are some people, like you guys listen to this podcast, you go through your life and you don't understand that a lot of people can't do. You're like, oh, let's stay an extra day in San Diego. And you just extend it on your phone and you'll be drunk and do it and not even know. Like just getting them from Cleveland to Columbus, which is 2 hours down I-71, it's a straight shot. Mm-hmm. You can take a bus. You could walk if you start early enough.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a last minute scramble for people to locate them and coerce them into the car, and just like there's no checking accounts or ability to understand a lot. You know what I'm saying?
So
like,
we won't be getting a Patreon.
They wouldn't know. I would pay money on somebody's Patreon for them to explain that to them and what the concept of Patreon is, and maybe even how to download a podcast. I'm not even joking. And so.
Yet I bet they have a postal address.
Yeah, they forked over that money, Mom and Dad. What up with that dough? And so there's already a lot of stress on Josh's end because he's like, I really want my parents to be at my wedding. They're in the same state. They're 2 hours away for sure. They're not traveling ever under any circumstances. My sister doesn't even drive on the highway, if that gives you an idea of like what we're talking about.
So she's like,
so like there's a lot on that end. So to throw the end that's supposed to be secure, which is, his big uncles, like that's handling a lot of this business, it was so wretched. That's the word. The thing is, and I know I don't sound that emotional as I talk about it. It's like I reached a boiling point so many times that I'm just plateaued with it now. Like, what else is how else is somebody allowed to terrorize another human being that did not do anything? I let her keep the $15,000 ring. She sold $85,000 worth of shit. I gave her $3,000 to move, and now she can't. Like, what is the? Because if I go over there and do something, talk show host smashes girl in the head while she's eating an $18 smoothie. It's just like I'm the monster.
I'm concerned that you've opened a portal to hell.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you can ever close it. I don't know when this ends if you don't make I want to
ask our swimmers, and obviously you and Chris, feel free to chime in as well. At what point, like every movie, it's like some soldier and he's retired and they need to get him out, and they're like, first they killed his SWAT team, and then they killed his family, and that was too much. And then like you see him like putting the black gloves on and becoming who he used to be. I think Kanye said, "Don't make me turn back into the old me." I'm trying real hard. Like I'm trying to be the shepherd here, but at a certain point, dog, you're gonna like things could go real left with what you're doing, because you're line stepping now, bro. Yeah. You're line stepping. You're line stepping a little bit. And I don't know, Corinne, because the thing is, I know people would just go after her financially. And yes, you could do that. But then it's like what that lawyer said. Do you want to bring her back into the fold?
The energy that takes. Yeah. My concern is like my mind goes straight to like threats of something, threats of criminal charges, like something, because she's just going unchecked. But the problem is she's doing all of this to get a reaction from you. So by not giving the reaction, you're doing the most, probably.
Right.
Wouldn't it be hysterical if this whole time it's because she was like, listen, I want you to befriend Al. I want you to get a podcast going with Al.
The
I
final.
want to understand. You then podcast about so I can hear what the reaction was.
Oh gosh, and yeah, she hated you. You know, and the thing is,
No, I'm very hateable.
Yeah, no, she
As
can.
most of America would tell you.
She hates real ones.
Yeah.
And that's why she couldn't. She didn't like you from the jump because you were fun. And I remember we had to like really kind of reconnected after the DBL shoot at Tori's
went to 4
birthday
5.
party. Yeah, and so like, and I just remember like the whole ride
was
home.
there.
She was just like, yeah, we remember. And I just remember the whole ride home. She was just like, what do you think about? It was like she had clearly been stewing about you. She just. And at that point, I knew I was with evil. It's like that horror series Insidious, where you know the devil's in your house. And
Yes.
right. And the thing is, my instincts were right. I needed to start preparing. I remember talking to a famous comedian years ago before any of this. I think I was still married at the time. He was going through a divorce, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm getting paid in cash and stashing that." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but you have to start preparing. And I think at that point, I was already like, this is probably the worst person I've ever met. And I know that as a black dude and at that time a white girl, I was like, this is going to be a problem, you know, because if anything happens, you know, I'm very worried about starting fights in the car or starting anything where like she can go, he intimidated me and he reached for the window, but it hit my chin. You know what I'm saying? So I have to, because anything that happens, I did it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So now it's like, we're past that, but now we're into like, you're doing some stuff now where like we might have to go back at you. And if I do, that rage is going to come out and it could be really bad.
Okay, so where's the sweet spot of this?
I like to end it on
we're
the
at the
rage.
end of the dark alley.
So, you know, my mom, shout out Dr. Jackie
I was like,
McLemore.
why does it seem like you can't remember her name?
Birthday. I always throw that doctor on there. And my mom, I've said this before, my mom got a PhD in 1990 before Google, before Chat GPT.
Right.
Her shit hits different.
Yeah.
She did her shit on the typewriter. All right. She couldn't say, hey, Google, what the hell's my dissertation? She did that with a schizophrenic daughter and going through a divorce. So shout out Dr. Jackie McLemore. You know, so my mom, who's just smooth as jazz music. She reminds me a lot of Sar. Like my mom's like, she's like, Al.
Sar is his girlfriend.
Yes. Then she's like, Al, calm down. She was like, I found a couple properties. We located a property.
Thank God, because I mean, Logan,
yes,
Ohio
you
isn't
would
exactly a hotbed of cabins.
Yes.
I would assume.
So we found a cabin that was really nice. It held us all perfectly. We get there. It's me, Sar, went on the trip, met my kids for the first time, all three of my kids. Met my mom, met Montez, shout out Tez, met Uncle Ben, you know, and my sister and her husband. So it was like literally everybody I love in this cabin.
That's
and
amazing.
it was like one of those things where I was like, I never thought this was going to be possible. One, because I didn't know my sister years ago. And two, COVID, when Trump was president, I was like, oh, we're never getting this vaccine. He's going to like give it to his friends. And like, it's like when you would go to like a party at a black college. I went to a black college like this, and like going to a party at a white college, like there's just booze on the table. Oh, have some terrible Bacardi. Oh, but at a black college, because funds are tight, you have to know somebody. So it's like, hey, go upstairs. The Crown Royal's underneath my jacket in my roommate's closet. And so like, you know, the idea of all these people under one roof, vaccinated, being able to talk and kick it, it was maybe the best day of my adult life. And so like
wow, the best day of your adult life.
Yeah, because, you know, I'll tell you why. Because on that day, my mom got a picture with her 3 kids for the first time ever in her life. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that?
Yeah.
And so like this person's hate couldn't stop that love, you know. And I look at our family, you know, my nephew, Josh, who's biracial, from an adopted biracial.
I said they sounded very white when you were describing the amount of hiking they liked.
But I mean, his mom's biracial and his dad's black, so he's mostly black. You know, his partner is she's white. You know, my grandmother had hair just like yours, blue eyes just like you. Actually favor my grandmother a lot. I just thought about that. That's super weird.
Oh, I got
I'll show you a
grandma
picture.
vibes.
I'll show you a picture of Marcella. Marcella was fine, and so you know,
I know she made the arm tattoo.
yeah, she made the only tattoo I got. So like, you know, my kids are biracial. My daughter's fully black. We look like an adult college learning facility brochure, like just random people, but we're like a real family. We just all look different. And I was like, yo, she cannot stop the hate her hate couldn't stop this love. So like it was from tragedy on Tuesday to like the best day ever on Saturday.
Well,
so shout out.
The most impressive part about all of this is when you booked that, you had a different girl that was going.
Yes.
And you somehow managed to upgrade and trade out the original wench for like a superstar. And I just would never have accomplished that.
We went from Spirit Airlines to UAE.
Yeah.
Business class, baby.
You sure did.
Yeah, dude. We did it. So if anybody's listening that knows who I'm talking about, just you knowing her, you lost in life, and let her know we're doing great. Your boy just re-signed his contract, so let her know that, and let her know I might be having the cops come after her, but I might just do the worst thing, which is let her finish her life. So just know this, you are the worst person that's ever existed, and everybody that's listening to this podcast and everybody that watches my show will know that. But you know what? You know what, boo? You know those last 10 seconds when your head hits the pillow and it gets real quiet and it's just you, and you know that you missed the point of life, and now you're just playing out the string like the Kansas City Royals, 29 games out of first place. It's over, boo. You're a waste.
Powerful words. Powerful. You are a waste is...
You are a waste. But you know what's not a waste? This show and our ability to help our
other
swimmers
people
that are on this show, and we have. I'm so excited.
I know you said there's like a really solid email
we
that
have
you want to read.
An email, and I wouldn't even give you any of the lowdown because it's such a surprise, but I just read a little bit, and I was like, okay, I love this.
Okay. I'm so ready. So you guys, if you want to write in to us, you can ask us questions. You could yell at us. You can send us voice memos. It is at mysafe-word-is-more-advice@gmail.com.
Yep.
We read them fresh on the air usually. He'll maybe like review it just to see if it's like interesting enough, but I never know what he's going to say until he says it. So what you got for me?
All right. I just read probably the first two sentences, so we're going in this blind. Okay. This comes from our homeboy. We'll just call him L. And it says, hi, Al and Corinne. Love you both. We love you back. And love the podcast. Thank you. It's absolutely a highlight of my week every week. That's what's up.
Oh, same for us.
Yeah. Okay.
We also think we're the funniest people we know.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, so it says, I need some help. I've been married for 7 years now and have the worst in-laws ever. They're homophobic, Christian nationalist Trump supporters. Super fun since we're a gay couple. Wow.
I knew that when he said, he or she.
He.
When he said, I love you, that was the first thought I had.
See?
Gay man.
Except for the guy at recess.
When he said in-laws, I was like, could I be wrong? Nope. I am not. It's
the
just
one
the
time
one
that you were wrong,
fucking guy. Yeah.
You let your man walk out of recess.
Yes.
All right. And it says, and we are just the and they are just the absolute worst. They cut off my husband back when he came out. They tried turning other family members against us, all because Jesus tells them to.
Oh, yeah.
We've been no contact for years and are living our best lives far away from their nonsense. Good for you. Black power, fist in the air for that. That being said, they are truly despicable people, and I want life to be worse for them. I like this dude.
Yeah,
I think we might have a lot in common
Seriously.
here. I don't want to get arrested or do anything to where they know I am the one doing something to them.
Right, of course.
But I definitely want them to suffer. Exclamation point. That's something a king would say in season 1 of Game of Thrones. Do you have any advice for petty, anonymous revenge? Especially revenge that can be done from a long distance as we don't live in the same state. For example, someone once put my phone number on Craigslist saying I was giving away a free car, and I got nonstop calls for 3 days.
Damn it.
Absolutely brilliant. More of this, please. Or also feel free to ignore my question and just have some petty revenge stories yourself. Love ya. And he said give him any fun fake name that he wants. So we called him L, but that's boring. I want to call him
El Terror.
Lucius.
Okay.
We're calling him Lucius. All right, so let's talk to Lucius.
The first thing I thought before he said what he said was, you know who terrorized me? Ambi and Corinne. And you know what she did? Ooh. She went online and apparently put my information into a website that said I want to learn more about solar power. And I now receive 10 to 15 calls a day. I cannot stop it. There is no getting off of this list. I don't care about the environment. I don't know why I did that. But, Ambient Corinne is just really good at completely sabotaging real Corinne. And so I was thinking something along the lines of that. Like there's like micro terrorism, right? Like it's the waterboarding of somebody. It's slow. It's painful. I cannot stop. And the other problem is like the calls that I get, because I get calls on my phone from numbers that are not identified, like, they're not, there's a caller, it's a number I don't know,
right.
But oftentimes those are clients, and like for doctor's offices, like I often will answer, and every time I'm like, they're like, hey, how are you? I'm like, hey, how are you? And then they're like, so, I know you wanted to learn, and I was like, oh God, it will never end. And so that is a particular type of torture that only requires knowing their phone number, and I think you could do that widespread. I mean, definitely do it with solar power. I can guarantee you that will work.
Yeah, I just because they're terrible people, I would just say maybe you solicit some help for them. So I'll tell you this, Lucius, you know what would help maybe their relationship? Maybe you send a hard copy of a book saying what to do when you're no longer attracted to your wife.
Yes!
I mean, it's a book.
Really
Sending
good.
a gift it's not a bad thing. You can send things anonymously. And, maybe it's a gift that they can give to a friend, or maybe she opens it and she's shattered inside. That's not for us to decide, Lucius.
That's really good.
I
That's
just
better than mine.
think that a lot of what to do when your husband's penis makes you feel like a pedophile.
Yeah,
That's another one where, like, if he gets that and he might think that, and she'll be like, I didn't send that, but he doesn't know that. Why maybe you could address it from her to that address, and
sure, or just send gay porn as though they ordered it.
Yes, gay. See, but the thing is, you can easily say that neither one of us.
Track it back to them?
Yes. Okay. No. Just like neither. You can write that off. But it's got to be something subtle, because subtle sticks to you. It's like after this podcast, we're chopping it up, having a good time, having some champagne since I re-signed my contract. What if, Corinne, all of a sudden I just go, hey, I'm going to run and take this phone call. Corinne, here's a breath mint, and then I go take the phone call. You're like, well, what? He didn't offer Chris one. Does your breath stink? Do you know? I don't. Why didn't I give Chris one? That's in your head. If I go, hey, I got to take this phone call, and I hand you a dildo, you're like, oh, Al's crazy. But the breath mint is just like, I like subtly destroying people. So maybe you just send them some literature that is do not go over the top. Fight the urge to go over the top, because once you go over the top, they'll be onto you. It's got to be slow. It's like the way a leech would slowly suck the life out of something. An alligator just eats you. There's no fun in that. You go into shock. You don't even feel it. But a leech, you get lethargic. You're sick. Yeah.
I've had leeches on me.
Yeah. I know you have Miss Gabone over here.
That was a leech-infested pond.
Yeah. So do you have any other suggestions? I'm going for more of the mental shattering, and maybe send something to their place of worship on behalf of them. Yeah. Maybe a letter saying, that, and type it. Or just like, maybe we should take some of these books off the banned list, and then just they're all like hard gay porn erotica. I don't know.
I mean, I love all these suggestions. I need to understand, I guess, the level of hate.
Yeah, they cut off their son. So that's the man that he loves.
Yeah.
So to say that, like, you no longer have a family, that's death inside of life. So that's everybody's worst fear, is to get the phone call, your family died in a car accident.
Yeah.
That's what basically happened to his partner. So that's the meanest thing that you can do, meaner than canceling a cabin. I think anything, and I always think about this too, Corinne, when somebody goes, well, you're pushing it too far. There's certain things. It's like the Chris Rock Oscar slap. Once you do that, any response is on the table.
Yes.
There's certain things where, like, hey, you don't handle everything with a sledgehammer. If you decide to handle this with a pinprick or a sledgehammer, anything is acceptable over here on this side of the pod, because of what they did and the egregious level of contemptibility and hate. Where's all the? I thought it was Christian love. Everything they
No.
do is the yellow M&M is coercing my daughter into 69ing with another girl.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, what happened to y'all? Is there any love? Because I never see it. It's always the hate and no Bud Light and this TikToker. Now we're not buying night. I'm like, what is happening with y'all? Like, get a hold of yourselves.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm
Also, the yellow M&M is a freak. Let's be real.
I would want them to be. I really like your idea because it's kind of a fun thing. The problem, this is what I always have with this. I hate when someone says like, "Don't worry, karma will get them."
No, I don't believe that.
I don't know that she will. So how about I do the vigilante justice thing. Like I don't believe
You
in
hire a black girl named Karma.
Yeah, exactly.
there you go.
I don't believe in karma. And the other problem is, what good is it? What fun is it if I don't know what happened?
There's
And
got to be a
like,
payoff.
yeah, I mean, I had an ex that we'll just say it was an ex of mine that I was substantially involved with. And when we broke up, it was very egregious. And I didn't know what happened to him. I wrote him off. I was like, that's it. Like, I'm never, ever going to speak to him again. And about a year later, there was a shooting that was very close to where he lives. And so I was like, I reached out and just said like,
Fingers crossed.
so this is what happened. My Eliza, my best friend, I called her and I was like, there's a high probability that he might have been there during, he lives walking distance to this grocery store. He goes there every day around this hour. He buys food like I do, like for one day at a time. And I was like, she goes, well, how do you feel? And I'm like, I was like, I would feel badly. Like, that's where I was like, she goes, then you gotta reach out. So yeah, I was like, hey, are you okay? And he wrote back yes, and then asked if we could talk. And when I talked to Franny, who's my best friend, but also like life coach, Franny was like, absolutely not. You're asking me? You're asking me if I think you should do this? I'm telling you, absolutely not. You close that door. He does not love you. Full stop. Do not open that door. Do not open it. And
I think I'm
was like,
Team Franny on this one.
okay, well, everyone except Eliza was like, crack the door a little. And so I was like, I'm not listening to anybody else. I want to know what happened to him in this year since I haven't spoken to him. And I thought in my mind he had this like wonderful life. He probably was fucking somebody else. Well, in the period when he was breaking up with me, he probably already had somebody else lined up. Like everything was coming up roses. His business was super successful. In my head, I built the worst narrative of all time. Like he's doing so well and I'm doing like shit.
You're doing great.
Well, I mean, I didn't know how he was doing, but when I talked to him, I said, he's struggled with sobriety, but he's been sober for like 19 years. And he's like, when we broke up, I had a major relapse and I had to be in inpatient rehab for 3 months. And you see, I wouldn't have known that if I had perhaps it was karma that took care of things, but I wouldn't have known any of this if I didn't talk to him and he told me.
You know what you should have done? You should have been like, I didn't hear you. Can you talk slower?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm about to come.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be very sympathetic. I'm like, oh, no. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Cleaned out your account and had to use your mouth for rent.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, he had to go like during the pandemic. Yeah. So
I love it.
I say to you this, while it's fun to look at like what are we going to do to terrorize these people, I also really need receipts. I need to know that I've actually terrorized this person.
Right.
And so it's hard for me to give you advice that like isn't perception,
Right. And also this, I'll just say this and we're going to wrap. Just understand that the worst thing that you and your partner could do is just let them live their lives, because just like the monster we talked about before, the two monsters that you're referring to, or the dude that you're referring to, Corinne, their lives are sucking. That's why they lash out. When you're doing great, you're not thinking, oh, in my spare time, let me slash Chris's tires. You don't think that when you're happy, when you're going to barbecues, when you're meeting attractive people that you, accuse of being gay and then have to walk that back. All these things. The people that are doing these things are totally miserable. And I think that it's like, follow your own advice, Corinne. The fact that she has to go her rest of her life being her is punishment enough. And the fact that set of parents that have to go the rest of their life, you know what? I would send them pictures when you guys are in Rio and just be like, hey, you know, your son's doing great out here. Hope y'all are good. Like, let them know you're thriving. Let them know that their son is doing better than ever without them in his life. They don't need their inheritance or anything.
If I could just wave a magic wand, I would say, could one of you guys just get really famous? Because people always walk it back when their kid becomes famous.
Yeah.
Like, can one of you become Britney Spears or, like, you know, is there not a world? Do something.
That's our advice for Lucius. You need to get really famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of a famous dude that he could be that's like...
Well, I mean, Shaq had that, you know, Shaq had a song called My Biological Didn't Bother. And it was about, like, Shaq was raised by his stepfather, who raised him very strictly in a military household and all that kind of stuff, and raised the Shaq we come to know. And Shaq's old dad came around like, sup? And Shaq was like, nah. D.L. Hughley has a famous story about how his dad showed up out of nowhere. Yeah.
This is when they come back. That or, you know, they need money for something.
Yeah. So just remember, Lucius, you're killing it. And you know who else is killing it, Corinne? We are. Can we toot our own horn? I think we just did.
I mean, when you're good and you know it.
Clap your hands.
Okay, thank you, swimmers. Please write in with your emails. And please help us keep the lights on by going to Patreon. It's all under My Safe Word Is More. Follow us on Instagram so you can see all of the content. And that's going to do it for us today.
Yeah. So with that said, remember that this isn't a podcast about perspective.
He never guesses right.
I don't even, well, you
it's
tell
a
me.
It's a podcast about revenge.
Yeah, there you go. Let's end it on that.
Bye, guys.